Hey guys, I hope you're ready for chapter 4 of The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. I'm excited to read it to you today. I've got some vocabulary words for you to listen for. There's some terms. One of the terms has 2 words. Let's look. Ceaselessly, downy, field glasses, so that's one term, but it has 2 words, and vain. These are some words you're going to be listening for today and that I'd love for you to add to your notebook. And once you have determined their meaning, write about that and draw a little picture. And by the time we finish reading The Trumpet of the Swan, you're going to have a really great vocabulary notebook going. Okay, chapter 4 is called The Signets. And signet is a word that you added, I think, during chapter 1. So you already know what that word means, don't you? Here we go. During the night, the swan thought she heard a piping sound from the eggs, and in the movement under her breast, as though a tiny body were wiggling there. Hold on. I missed a whole line. And you know what? I'm not going to start the video over. I'm just going to reread it because I want you to know that this happens to all readers, no matter how old you are or no matter how long you've been reading books. But when you notice that you've done it, the important thing is to go back and fix it and don't just keep going. Make sure you go back and fix it. I'm going to read that sentence again. And I'm just going to start from the beginning, actually. During the night, the swan thought she heard a piping sound from the eggs. And in the hour just before dawn, she was sure she felt a slight movement under her breast, as though a tiny body were wiggling there. That's better. Perhaps the eggs at last were hatching. Eggs, of course, can't wiggle, so the swan decided she must have something under her that wasn't an egg. She sat perfectly still, listening and waiting. The cob floated nearby, keeping watch. A little swan, enclosed in an egg, has a hard time getting out. It never would get out if nature had not provided it with 2 important things, a powerful neck muscle and a small dagger tooth on the top of its bill. This tooth is sharp, and the baby swan uses it to pick a hole in the tough shell of the egg. Once the hole is made, the rest is easy. The cygnet can breathe now. It just keeps wiggling and wriggling until it is free. The cob was expecting to become a father any minute now. The idea of fatherhood made him feel poetical and proud. He began to talk to his wife. If you've been paying attention, I bet you can already predict what kind of talking to his wife the cob is going to do. We've already noticed in our earlier chapters, like the way that he likes to talk. So let's see if that matches. Here I glide, swan-like, he said, while earth is bathed in wonder and beauty. Now slowly the light of day comes into our sky. A mist hangs low over the pond. The mist rises slowly, like a steam from a kettle, while I glide, swan-like, while eggs hatch, while young swans come into existence. I glide and glide. The light strengthens. The air becomes warmer. Gradually the mist disappears. I glide, swan-like. Birds sing their early song. Frogs that have croaked in the night stop croaking and are silent. Still I glide, ceaselessly, like a swan. Of course you glide like a swan, said his wife. How else can you glide? You couldn't glide like a moose, could you? I think that response is hilarious. Well, no, that is quite true. Thank you, my dear, for correcting me. The cob felt taken aback by his mate's common sense remark. He enjoyed speaking in fancy phrases and graceful language, and he liked to think of himself as gliding, swan-like. He decided he better do more gliding and less talking. Good thinking there, bud. I heard our first vocabulary word in the midst of all of his poetical and proud speech, is, as E.B. White put it, I heard the word ceaselessly. All right, let's keep going. All morning long, the swan heard the pipping of the shells, and every once in a while, she felt something wriggle beneath her in the nest. It was an odd sensation. The eggs had been quiet for so many, many days, 35 days in all. And now, at last, they were stirring with life. She knew that the proper thing to do was to stay still. Late in the afternoon, the swan was rewarded for her patience. She gazed down, and there, pushing her feathers aside, came a tiny head. The first baby, the first cygnet. It was soft and downy. It was soft and downy. Unlike its parents, it was gray. Its feet and legs were the color of mustard. Its eyes were bright. On unsteady legs, it pushed its way up until it stood beside its mother, looking around at the world it was seeing for the first time. Its mother spoke softly to it, and it was glad to hear her voice. It was glad to breathe the air after being cooped up so long inside an egg. The cob, who had been watching intently all day, saw the little head appear. His heart leapt with joy. "A cygnet!" he cried. "A cygnet at last! I am a father, with all the pleasant duties and awesome responsibilities of fatherhood. Oh, blessed little son of mine, how good it is to see your face peering through the protecting feathers of your mother's breast under these fair skies, with a pond so quiet and peaceful in the long light of afternoon." "What makes you think it's a son?" inquired his wife. "For all you know, it's a daughter. Anyway, it's a cygnet, and it's alive and healthy. I can feel others under me, too. Perhaps we'll get a good hatch. We may even get all 5. We'll know by tomorrow." "I have every confidence that we will," said the cob. Next morning, very early, Sam Beaver crawled out of his bunk while his father was still asleep. Sam dressed and lit a fire in the stove. He fried a few strips of bacon, toasted 2 slices of bread, poured a glass of milk, and he sat down and ate breakfast. When he was through, he found a pencil and paper and wrote a note. "I have gone for a walk. We'll be back for lunch." Sam left the note where his father would find it. Then he took his field glasses and his compass, fastened his hunting knife to his belt, and set out through the woods and over the swamp to the pond where the swans lived. I heard this term, field glasses. He's taking field glasses with him. He approached the pond cautiously, his field glasses slung over his shoulder. It was still only a little after 7 o'clock. The sun was pale, the air was chill. The morning smelled delicious. When he reached his log, Sam sat down and adjusted his glasses. Seen through the glasses, the nesting swan appeared to only be a few feet away. So I'm thinking field glasses are kind of like binoculars, but I'm not sure they're exactly like binoculars. So that's going to make it interesting for you to look up the term. Okay. She was sitting very close, not moving. The cob was nearby. Both birds were listening and waiting. Both birds saw Sam, but they didn't mind his being there. In fact, they rather liked it. They were surprised at the field glasses, though. "The boy seems to have very big eyes today," whispered the cob. "His eyes are enormous." "I think those big eyes are actually a pair of field glasses," replied the swan. "I'm not sure, but I think that when a person looks through field glasses, everything appears closer and bigger." "Will the boy's glasses make me appear even larger than I am?" asked the cob hopefully. "I think so," said the swan. "Oh, well, I like that," said the cob. "I like that very much. Perhaps the boy's glasses will make me appear not only larger than I am, but even more graceful than I am. Do you think so?" "It's possible," said his wife, "but it's not likely. You better not get too graceful. It might go to your head. You're quite a vain bird." And there's our last vocabulary word for this chapter. Vain. She said, "You're quite a vain bird." "All swans are vain," said the cob. "It is right for swans to feel proud, graceful. That's what swans are for." Sam could not make out what the swans were saying. He merely knew that they were having a conversation, and just hearing them talk to each other stirred his blood. It satisfied him to be keeping company with these two great birds in the wilderness. He was perfectly happy. In mid-morning, when the sun had gained the sky, Sam lifted his glasses again and focused them on the nest. At last he saw what he had come to see, a tiny head thrusting through the mother's feathers, the head of a baby trumpeter. The youngster scrambled up onto the edge of the nest. Sam could see its gray head and neck, its body covered with soft down, its yellow legs and feet with their webs for swimming. Soon another cygnet appeared, then another, then the first one worked his way down into his mother's feathers again for warmth. Then one tried to climb up his mother's back, but her feathers were slippery, and he slid off and settled himself neatly at her side. The swan just sat and sat, enjoying her babies, watching them gain the use of their legs. An hour went by. One of the cygnets, more daring than the others, left the nest and teetered around on the shore of the little island. When this happened, the mother swan stood up. She decided the time had come to lead her children to the water. "Come on," she said, "and stay together. Note carefully what I do, then you do the same. Swimming is easy. 1, 2, oh wait, this isn't the mom talking anymore. I'm going to change my voice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sam counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cygnets, just as sure as I'm alive. The cob, as he saw his children approach the water, felt that he should act like a father. He began making a speech. "Welcome to the pond and the swamp adjacent. Welcome to the world that contains this lovely pond, this splendid marsh, unspoiled and wild. Welcome to the sun and shadow, wind and weather. Welcome to water. The water's a swan's particular element, as you will soon discover. Swimming is no problem for a swan. Welcome to danger, which you must guard against. The vile fox, with his stealthy tread and sharp teeth. The offensive otter, who swims up under you and tries to grab you by the leg. The stinking skunk, who hunts by night and blends with the shadows. The coyote, who hunts and howls and is even bigger than a fox. Beware of lead pellets that lie down on the bottom of the pond, left there by the guns of hunters. Don't eat them, they'll poison you. Be vigilant, be strong, be brave, be graceful, and always follow me. I will go first, then you will come along in a single file, and your devoted mother will bring up the rear. Enter the water quietly and confidently." The mother swan, glad the speech was over, stepped into the water and called her little ones. The cygnets gazed for a second at the water, then tottered forward, gave a jump, and were afloat. The water felt good. Swimming was simple, nothing to it. The water was good to drink. Each baby dipped up a mouthful. Their happy father arched his long, graceful neck over and around them protectively. Then he set off, very slowly, with the cygnets following along in a single file. Their mother brought up the rear. "What a sight," Sam said to himself. "What a terrific sight! 7 trumpeters, all in line, 5 of them just out of the egg. This is my lucky day." He hardly noticed how stiff he had become from sitting so long on the log. Like all fathers, the cob wanted to show off his children to somebody, so he led the cygnets to where Sam was. They all stepped out of the water and stood in front of the boy, all but the mother swan. She stayed behind. "Coho," said the cob. "Hello," said Sam, who hadn't expected anything like this and hardly dared to breathe. The first cygnet looked at Sam and said, "Beep." The second cygnet looked at Sam and said, "Beep." The third cygnet greeted Sam the same way, and so did the fourth. The fifth cygnet was different. He opened his mouth, but he didn't say anything. Instead, didn't say anything. He made an effort to say beep. Like his siblings, but no sound came out. So he was like this. So instead, he stuck his little neck out, took hold of one of Sam's shoelaces, and gave it a pull. He tugged at the lace for a moment. It came untied. Then he let it go. It was like a greeting. Sam grinned. Here's the picture. Does that look familiar at all? It's not exactly the same, but it reminds me of the cover. Now on the cover, I don't know if the cover is the same moment or if that little signet is going to come back later all by himself and do the same thing later in the story. But he's definitely doing it right now. Let's remind ourselves why he's pulling Sam's shoelace. Why did the fifth signet pull Sam's shoelace? Is he trying to be mean? Or does he want to eat the shoelace? Maybe he's hungry. Does that match what we read in the text? Why did he pull the shoelace? I'm going to read that part again. The fifth signet was different. He opened his mouth, but didn't say a thing. He made an effort to say beep, but no sound came out. So, there's a clue word. So, it's kind of like we're going from cause to effect. So, instead, he stuck his little neck out, took hold of one of Sam's shoelaces, and gave it a pull. He tugged at the lace for a moment. It came untied. Then he let it go. It was like a greeting. There's the reason. He couldn't speak, and he wanted to greet Sam as well, so that was his greeting. It was like a greeting. Sam grinned. The cob now looked worried. Based on what I just read to you, I wonder why that cob is worried. I think so too. He ran his long white neck between the signets and the boy and guided the babies back to the water and to their mother. Follow me, said the cob, and he led them off, full of grace and bursting with pride. When the mother thought her young ones had had enough swimming and might be chilly, she stepped out onto a sandy shore and squatted down and called them. They quickly followed her out of the pond and burrowed down under her feathers to get warm. In a moment, there wasn't a signet in sight. And soon, I thought it said and soon, but it says at noon. At noon, Sam got up and walked back to his camp, his mind full of what he had seen. Next day, he and his father heard Shorty's motor in the sky and saw the plane approaching. They grabbed their duffel bags. Goodbye, camp. See you in the fall, said Mr. Beaver as he shut the door and gave it a pat. He and Sam climbed into the plane and were soon aloft on their way home to Montana. Mr. Beaver did not know that his son had seen a trumpeter swan bring off her young ones. Sam kept the matter to himself. If I live to be 100 years old, thought Sam, I'll never forget what it feels like to have my shoelace pulled by a baby swan. Sam and his father were late arriving home at the ranch, but late as it was, Sam got out his diary before he turned in for the night, and he wrote, There are 5 signets. They are sort of a dirty brownish gray color, but very cute. Their legs are yellow like mustard. The old cob led them right up to me. I wasn't expecting this, but I kept very still. 4 of the babies said, beep. The 5th one tried to, but he couldn't. He took hold of my shoelace as though it was a worm and gave it a tug and untied it. I wonder what I'm going to be when I grow up. He switched off the light, pulled the sheet up over his head, and fell asleep, wondering what he was going to be when he grew up. That's the end of chapter 4. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. The next chapter is called Louie. Chapter 5 is called Louie. We haven't met anyone named Louie yet. Not called that anyway. So I guess we'll see what happens. I will be recording chapter 5 on Monday. Today's Friday, so enjoy the weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.